Melusine by Lynne Reid Banks, Chapter 12, Revelation in a Storm. But it turned out differently. His father not only hadn't forgotten about last night, he had no intention of making Roger sleep in that room again if he didn't want to. At his father's suggestion, Roger was to sleep with him in the double bed. Roger, who had been sitting on his fear because he thought he had no alternative, suddenly felt light-headed with hunger. He went to the little fridge where he found the remains of the sandwiches wrapped in foil and ate 4 of them. Still munching the last one, he went to have a peep at Polly. She was awake. He climbed the 2 steps to her bed and sat down on it. "Hi, Paul," he said. "You okay?" "I feel all right. Better anyhow," she said. "But I keep thinking about it happening, like film in a loop, over and over." "Poor old Pod," he said, using Waddy to express his sympathy. "It was my own fault," she said. "Standing up like that, really stupid, right out of order." "Dad said I should have gone straight in after you," said Roger. "Why should you have? You said you wouldn't when I took my life jacket off." Roger stopped. "Listen, Paul, can you remember anything that happened to you when you were, under the water? Did you feel anything? How did you come to the surface, for instance?" Polly looked blank. "How could I feel anything? I was conked out. Anyway, it's okay now. Don't worry about it. But it was well horrid when I came to. I thought I was choking to death." "Pod wouldn't dike to drown, Wadder." "Oh, shooting's the best way to die," he remarked seriously, obviously much the quickest. "Thanks, I'll try to remember next time," she said sarcastically, so that he felt she really was better. He was sent to bed early, and though he made the ritual objections, he wasn't really sorry. It was lovely to climb into the big bed and know he wouldn't be alone there all night. He dozed fitfully till his father came to bed. Not all that much later. "Do you feel a bit shaky about it all still?" "I know I do. Yeah, a bit." They lay quietly in the semi-darkness. "Dad, what do you think of Monsieur Serpet?" "Not a lot. Why?" After a pause, his father said, "Don't know, really. Just took against the man as soon as I saw him." "I do not like thee, Dr. Fell, the reason why I cannot tell. But this I know, and know right well, I do not like thee, Dr. Fell." "Do you think he's bad?" "Bad how? Do you think he's nice to Melusine?" "Why? Have you seen signs that he isn't?" Roger was silent. "Dad," he said after a bit, "is it okay for a father to kiss his daughter and, sit with her on his knee? Why ever not?" "I don't know. I just wondered." "Does he do that? I saw him through the window. He was sitting with her on his lap, kissing her, and she didn't look as if she liked it." His father lay quiet for a while, then he gave a little grunt. "It's not really our business, Roger," he said. "Still, I won't pretend I like the sound of that very much." "Why?" His father sighed. "Well, let me put it like this. A man who lives without a wife, like Monsieur Serpet, can get very lonely, especially in a remote place like this with no adult company. And if he's got a young daughter, sometimes he can get a bit fonder of her than he ought to." Roger sat up. "You mean, like on TV? You mean child abuse?" "Lie down, son. I'm definitely not saying it's that." "But that's with strangers, not a person's father." After a long silence, his father said, "Nobody likes to tell kids this, but I'm afraid it happens a lot inside families as well, especially between fathers and daughters." Roger was still sitting up, every muscle tense, like last night when he was alone and afraid. "But that's really wrong," he said in a low voice. "Well, yes, it would be, if it were that, but we mustn't jump to conclusions, Rog. Perhaps he was just making a fuss of her, like any father might." But even as he said it, his voice petered out. The idea of the ogre as just like any father struck even him as doubtful. "But she was struggling," said Roger. "Are you absolutely sure about that?" Roger was silent. It had been so dark in there, he might easily have misinterpreted the movements he saw in the armchair. "One has to be terribly careful about accusing people, even in one's own mind," his father said. But it was clear to Roger that he was troubled. Now go to sleep. It's been quite a day, and I don't want you getting hot and bothered about this other business because we really can't get involved." After another pause, his father said, "Why not?" After another pause, his father said, "Because in just over a week we're going home." "You mean if something bad is going on, we just have to go away and leave her? It's a problem. What would you suggest we do?" "Take her with us," burst out Roger, but he knew that was nonsense even before his father said gently, "Oh, come on now." In the middle of the night, Roger woke up to find his face was wet. The water on his face was cold, and as he lay there, another drop fell right in his eye with a splash. "Dad!" he cried, sitting up. "Wake up!" His father leaped out of sleep and out of bed in one bound. What is it?" "I think it's the roof. It's leaking. My pillow's all wet." His father blundered to the door and tried to switch the light on, but nothing happened. He swore. "The power's off." He paused. "Listen to that wind." As he spoke, a deep rumble of thunder sounded, not quite overhead, and a few seconds later came the lightning. Now they listened. They could hear rain beating on the windows, and the wind certainly was clamoring under the eaves. "How can the rain get in here, Dad?" "It's not the top floor," said Roger from his wet bed. "God knows, maybe the room upstairs is unoccupied and the rain's coming through the roof through the floor up there." He uttered another curse as he stubbed his toe on something. "I'm going to find the torch." "I know where it is," said Roger, somewhat guiltily, jumping up and feeling his way toward the door. He had pinched it some days ago to keep his larder room as insurance against night frights. "Be quiet as you go through the girls' room," said his father. "Don't wake Polly." Roger tiptoed into the room where Polly and his mother lay sleeping, but his mother wasn't fully asleep and sat up. "What's going on?" she whispered. "It's the storm. Your bedroom's sprung a leak." "Oh, no, are we to be spared nothing?" she asked, exasperated. At this moment, Emma's little figure appeared. "I can't get my light to light," she said in a small voice. She wasn't too keen on storms, especially the thunder. "I woke up in the big room and I didn't know where I was at first." "It's okay, don't panic," said the father testily. "It's just a damned bore, that's all. I saw some candles somewhere. Come on, Rog, show me where that torch has got to." And he went through into the kitchen, taking Roger with him. "Now, where was it?" "It's in my room, Dad." "Okay, go and get it." "God, what a night!" he exclaimed, as a gust of savage wind made the French windows rattle. "Talk about extremes of climate." Roger felt his way in almost total darkness into his little cell, pushing his feet slowly across the flags, groping his way bedward. The torch was under his pillow. His hands found the edge of the bed and reached for where the pillow should have been. Instead, he touched Melusine's arm. He was so sure it was her that he wasn't afraid, just astounded. What on earth was she doing in his bed? "Melusine?" he whispered incredulously, and moved his hand along her arm with that special warm, cool, hard, soft skin he had touched before that could only be hers, but it wasn't, because the arm went on and wasn't an arm at all. It wasn't skin either. A couple of seconds touching it told him it wasn't skin. He didn't know what it was, but it was nothing human, though it quivered with life, and his hand followed the wholly unarm-like curve of the thing on the bed. It moved. It moved! And at the same moment, a flash of lightning through the little round window illuminated just for a split second what lay under his hand. He didn't need the shock of seeing it. He had already realized, in a mental flash more blinding than any lightning, that he was touching not skin, that what he was touching was not skin but scales, not a girl's arm or a man's, but the long, firm body of a huge snake. And that is the end of chapter 12.